Hi, hope you are doing well. Today we will discuss about change detection strategy in Angular and we'll also cover on how and when you should use that. So let's start the video. I am Subrat and you are watching Fun of Heuristics. So on this channel, you will get to know about the programming languages, the framework and all about the algorithm. So please consider subscribing and hit the bell icon if you haven't yet. So first we'll discuss about what is a change detection strategy, and as the name says, change detection strategy is a strategy which Angular uses to detect the changes in the DOM. So whenever you are seeing there is something rendering in the page, that is happening due to change detection strategy. If you know about two-way binding, if you add an ng model and if you add an interpolation of the same variable whichever you have added in the ng model, once you change on or suppose on an input field, that interpolation value is changing itself. So Angular is rendering that one, and that's is possible due to the change detection strategy Angular uses. So we have two change detection strategy. One is the default and another one is the on push. So default, you know, like which is default. So what Angular uses by default. So default means it will going to check always. So when any change on your DOM, any change on your model, means on your whichever model you are using to combine with your DOM, any change in that or any change in the event will going to trigger a change detection default one. And that's how Angular will detect and it will run. And that's a good thing in certain scenario, but in some scenario it may hamper the performance. We'll come to that later, and now we'll see what is on push. As the name says, on push means on trigger. So you will ask Angular, so I will going to let you know when to check for any change in the DOM, so that it will change and it will check and render your DOM. So now you will ask me why we should use on push, because Angular is pretty efficient and they have implemented something default and that should work, and that's correct in some scenario, but that's not always true. But what happens is, suppose you have a parent, okay, and in the parent you are changing some values in the parent which is not dependent at all to with your childs. Means suppose you have parent and they have multiple childs and they have multiple childs, and it's a pretty big tree of components. As we have change detection strategy as default, so whenever you change something here, your change detections, it will going to run for all your child components, and that's not good, and that can hamper your application performance if you are like doing lot of data operation on any change detection or something like that. And to solve that problem, we have our on push strategy. It will say that okay, whenever we are going to trigger, you will just check for the change. But what Angular have implemented is, if you have any changes in your input, then it will going to rerun your change detection, or any event handler running that component or will also going to trigger your change detection. And apart from that, we have our change detection reference, by using which we can ask Angular to run change detection in our particular component, and we'll all going to see that right now. So first we'll see what is happening in our default mode, then we'll go to the on push strategy. So for that, I have created three components. You can see here grandfather, it's a grandparent, parent and child. In the parent, we have a method called parent, and same as in the child, you have a method called child. But in the parent HTML, what we'll do, we'll just use the interpolation to call the method as parent, and in the child we'll do the same. We'll call the interpolation and pass the method as child. So what will happen here is, on every change detection, it will going to call this method and we're going to get the logs in our browser console. And now we'll do what I was telling you. So as you can see here, inside our grandparent we are using app parent, and inside the app parent we are using app child. So it's like grandparent, parent and child. I just gave the name so that it will be little, you can relate in between. So now here we'll add a input field, and now we'll see whenever we change anything on title according to what I told, you should see this parent log, and also you should see this child log, because all the things need to be re-rendered according to the default change detection strategies. And to see our grandparent component, we need to add to our app component. So I will just go and add it here, grandparent. So these are the code we have used for the previous videos, so you can ignore for this video, and but if you want to know how to track by, and that's a pretty good thing, like a pretty good performance improvement on your ng4 detective, so that it will not re-render the whole list again. You can use the track by, and if you don't know, you can watch the video. I will link in the card. It will be pretty helpful. Now, as I told, if you are changing something here, means in your grandparent component, then it should trigger the change in their parents. Okay, so if I will change in the something in the app component here, then it should affect your grandparent, your parent, your child, so all the children. That's what I meant. We'll go to the browser. Here you can see we are getting all our parent, child, like all our changes has been run. And here if I try to change something, just check okay, I'll just clear this one. I'll just don't even change, I just click outside, like click inside then click outside. So you have this trigger your ng model, like assigning the same variable again, and that's trigger your ng means whole DOM, like parent and child re-rendering again. And that's what not good, because if you see, our child doesn't depend on parent at all. We are just using to display them in our component, means display them in our DOM tree or in our browser window. And if you're using some value from your, like some model from your parent and same as in the child, and that makes sense, all the DOM tree need to be re-render, means not all the DOM tree, it's from where you are changing, and below the child all them need to be re-render. But in our cases, or in most of the cases, on any change or in the parent data should not be reflected on the child. Means if that's the case, then you should use your change detection strategy on push. And now we'll see what is the benefit of our change detection strategy on push. So first we'll go to our child component, and the change detection strategy you can put in your component level. So suppose you have a grandparent, parent and child. You can tell, okay, I don't need the change detection strategy but only on child or only on parent. And that is also possible because your change detection runs on the component level. You can add here change detection, and you can write changedetectionstrategy.onpush, and this will handle all other things. But there is a demerit of on push as well, and we'll come to that after some time. And now we'll go to a browser and we'll see what's happening here. And here if you see, we are getting parent a lot of time but child ran only once. Now it's a question you should think, why the child ran once? I think you got it, but if you haven't, then when your child, means when a child component will going to render first, then we are calling this this method, and that will happen on initial rendering of our DOM tree. That's the reason we call this method, and we return our child, and thus get printed here, and also we got our log. Okay, so that's the reason we printed child once. And now if you see, I will just erase the log. On any change, we will only get the parent. If I'll try to write something here, we will only get the parent. And if you see, you can ask me why parent is printing 2 times, because but we have just rendered it once, and it should render once on every change detection. But as you are in development mode, your strategy is running twice, so that's the reason it's getting printed. But in the production mode, it will print only once. means on every change you will going to call method once. So you got it how it happened. Now we're going to add it in our parent as well, and you see we'll not get any messages. And when I will save, once I will go to the browser, so here you see parent and child run once, and that is due to the initial rendering. And whenever I will do something here, it will not going to re-render anything, and that's why it's good. But now I will let you know the problem. So what we are doing here is, in our on init we have initialized our set interval, and inside that in every second we are assigning a random number to our title. You can call it as a number, and we are printing that number here. In the normal scenario, you should see in every second you should get a new number. But if I'll now go to the browser, and if you can see here, this is not changing at all, because we have changed our default change detection reference, means change detection strategy, to default to on push. That means Angular needs some trigger from the programmer side. Programmer means from your JavaScript side, to render your change detection, and that's why we are not able to see anything here. To solve this issue, here we can use our change detection reference. So here we can inject that one. Okay, so we can name as CF. So now we have injected the change detector reference, and that we can use in our set interval inside this. So this .cf, and we have this number of method. I'll come back to all this. First we're going to see what will it going to work or not. So, and now if I go to the browser, here you can see we are getting our random numbers, and which you can see in the browser, and that is happening only due to we are running our mark for changes. Okay, so now we'll come to which all methods we have. So as you know, like mark for check means, sorry, not mark for changes, mark for check. And mark for check will going to ask Angular to run the change detection. Your detach and detect change can used combinedly. Okay, so for what the detach will do is, it will going to detach your whole component from change detection reference, means from change detection from Angular. So it will work if you don't do this as well. If you comment this one as well, and you in your constructor, if you run the detach here, suppose you shouldn't run detach inside a set interval, you should do it here. And if you run the detach here, okay, and so what will happen is, it will going to detach your whole component from change detection by the Angular. So it will just tell the Angular that don't worry about the component, I'll going to handle it. And once you detach a whole component, you can run it like this. So here you can run detect changes, and it will going to check for any changes. So if I'll just try to refresh here, you can see you are getting your component like the numbers as usual as a default strategy. So now suppose I will just comment this value here, and now if we'll go to the browser, here you can see we are not getting at all, means not getting 0 itself. That means as you have run the detach in the constructor, that means the whole component is completely removed from any change detection. And that's the reason, even if you have an initial assigned number and we have it here, but still we are not able to see it here because Angular is not checking it at all. Okay, so if you go to your child component, and if you just uncomment this one and just keep an eye on that, here your 0 will not going to come, because you are enabling your change detection after you are assigning your random value, and that will happen after 1 second. So if I'll just go and come here, so if you see 0 will not come, and you'll directly see the result here. But in this case, so suppose if I'll just do like this, and you will going to see the 0 as the initial value, but it will not going to change because we have added our change detection strategy as on push. Instead of this also, you can use the mark for change that we saw just to render it here. And the reattach is just the opposite of detach. So if suppose you have detached your component in the constructor and after some time you think it needs to be checked on Angular change detection, then you can reattach your component to the Angular change detection and it will going to work according to your strategy how you have given. So if you haven't given any strategy, that means it's the default one, and if you have given on push, then it will going to wait for any changes by any change reference or any changes in your input method, means input field, or any event handler, or if you're using any impure pipe like async. So now we're going to see what will happen on inputs. So I will create a input field here. For now it will be an array, and why I'm taking an array I'll let you know here. As it's a child, so we'll go to our parent and we'll add a array to our array in our parent. So it's not there, so we're going to create here, we'll assign the array as an empty array, and inside this here we again going to run our set interval, and in every second, means every second we're going to create a new array and assign that to our this array, and as it's an input to our child component here, and for that reason we can see the change detection here. So the reason here is here also we are on every second we are assigning the random number and we are emitting a value. So what I will do, and now we'll go to the browser, and what we should see is as I told you, as if you change the any input, and as the ARR means the array is the input for our app child, and in the app child we have an input field which we are rendering here. Okay, so now it should work according to the what I told. But if you see, nothing is getting rendering. In every second we are emitting the value, and again if you are seeing 0 here, that means the change detection for your child component is also not getting rendered. And the reason is in our parent component we have our change detection strategy to onpush. That means it is not changing your DOM tree in the parent itself, so that if your parent is on push and is not detecting the changes, then this app child hasn't been changed yet. That means you are not providing your input field to your child, and that's the reason we are not getting the data. So for now I'll just comment this one because we're going to get a lot of logs, and I will just comment our onpush strategy. Now if we'll go to the browser, here if you see we started getting our field here, and with that we are also changing, means running the change detection. That's the reason that number is also getting changed, and that proves that if you change any input field, that will also going to change, means it's also going to run the change detection. And now if you ask me why I took the array, okay, so now if I go to the array here, and instead of appending, like assigning a math.random value, what I will do is I will just push math.random value. Now if I go to the browser, and it can wait for longer period, but you will not get any data, and just think for some time, okay, why this happened. Okay, and we have discussed kind of the same in the previous video, so I think you already got that one, because if you are pushing any value to your array, you are not changing the reference. So in the previous case, what we have done is we have assigned a new array to our array. That means we have created the new array in a memory and assigned that reference to our this array, and again it get passed to the to the child component, and as it's got a new reference, means if for Angular change detection strategy point of view, you got a new object. Now once you got a new object, now you should run your change detection strategy, means change detection. So here, as we are pushing our data to our existing component, means existing array, what we have, not component, existing array, that's the reason in the child component it is not able to get any changes, and that's the reason it's not rendering either your array, nor it's rendering, means running the change detection. And here you should be pretty careful if you are doing this kind of things. So it's actually simple concept in JavaScript, like the object comparison. So it will compare your object. If the compare succeed, means if that compare succeed means if it's a two different object, that will going to render, means run the change detection. If it is not, then it will not going to render. It's that simple. But while coding, it sometimes happen that you tends to, like, if you are used to with your normal change detection strategy, which is default one, then it should work. Okay, as we have put our change detection strategy as on push, that we should keep in our mind, and that's how it should run. So this is what the input field is, and same with the event handler. And one more thing is, your change detection strategy will also going to, means your change detection is also going to run if you are using an impure pipe like your async pipe, and you are subscribed to an observable. Like you can add your async pipe here. Suppose number is observable. I am not going to write that one, because suppose you have add your async pipe here, and your number is an observable or a promise, and any change data in the observable, your async pipe will going to subscribe to that one. And as it has subscribed to that one, and your async pipe will know, as this is an impure pipe, this is going to ask Angular to run the change detection, and that's how Angular can run. And async pipe will also going to help you to, like the normal subscribing and unsubscribing the observable on destroy of, like subscribe when on the load and unsubscribe on the destroy of your component lifecycle. So please like the video if you're liking the video till now, and please do subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you will not miss future videos. And please share this video among your friends, family, colleague, and let them know if they should use the change detection strategy if they have some scenario like we have discussed today. And please give some valuable comments, and it's pretty helpful. It's helped me to decide which topic to choose and all. And please watch this video if you want to know more about programming and web development. We're going to meet in the next video. Till that, stay happy. Bye bye.